right, so you want to know how people make it big these days, how they get to success fast. Well, we did a deep dive into Shane Snow's Smartcuts for you. And let me tell you, it's full of like unconventional wisdom, not your typical work your tail off and climb the ladder kind of stuff.
Yeah, Snow really turns those old success stories on their head, you know? He's fascinated by how some people do amazing things, but way faster than anyone thought possible.
It's crazy, right? Like the book starts with this comparison. Rockefeller took him 46 years for his first billion. Groupon's founder, just 2. What's the deal? Is it just that the world's on fast forward now?
It's not just speed, though. Snow digs deeper, looks at what's really happening. He says tech and how we communicate, they haven't just made things quicker, they've like changed the whole game. Ideas spread instantly, markets are always shifting, and bam, new opportunities pop up overnight.
So it's not even about working harder. It's like working differently.
Exactly. Snow says there are 3 big things for fast success: talent, timing, and strategy. He's not saying hard work doesn't matter or natural ability, but it's how you use your talents at the right time that makes those crazy success stories happen.
And that's where this smoke cuts idea comes in. Yeah, can you break that down for us?
Sure, smart cuts are all about understanding the systems, the patterns behind success, and then, using them strategically to get ahead faster. Not shortcuts, not cheating, more like working smarter, not just harder.
Okay, color me and shake. So what are some of these smart cut Snow's talking about? Give us the goods.
He lays out 9 of them with real examples and stuff you can actually do. The first one, he calls it ladder switching.
Ladder switching. That's catchy. What's the thinking there?
It's like challenging that idea that you got to climb the same ladder rung by rung your whole life. Sometimes the fastest way up is to like jump to a different ladder altogether, bringing your skills with you.
I kind of see how that could shake things up. Got any real life examples of this?
Think of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Started as a bodybuilder, right? Then movies, and then boom, politics. Didn't follow the usual path. He switched ladders, used what he'd already done to get even higher.
Okay, that's a pretty big example. But I guess the idea works for like regular folks too, right?
Absolutely. Say you're in marketing, but you love coding. Instead of getting stuck, you could use those marketing skills to land a job at a tech company, and learn and grow where you want to be. That's ladder switching.
I see. So it's not just changing jobs. It's putting yourself in the right spot for growth. Man, this is making me think about my own career. All right, what's the next smart cut on the list?
Number 2 is all about mentors, but not just any mentor. It's about finding someone who really opens doors for you, someone who can speed up your growth by like sharing their knowledge and connections and all that.
So it's like having a shortcut to wisdom and experience, but not like skipping the work part.
Exactly. A good mentor, they can help you dodge those common mistakes, introduce you to the right people, and give you advice that's like tailored just for you and your goals. They help you spot opportunities you might miss and handle tough stuff better.
Yeah, I've always been kind of iffy about the whole mentor thing. Felt kind of like asking for favors. But the way you're describing it, it's more like finding someone who's like invested in your success, who sees things differently.
You got it. And the cool thing is, there's actual proof that mentors make a difference. Studies show that people with mentors, they make more money on average, get promoted faster, and say they're happier at work too. A good mentor can really change the game.
Okay, you've convinced me. Mentorship is something I need to look into. What's next on this Smart Cuts list? This is fascinating.
This one's about platforms. Think of it like choosing the right environment to launch yourself. It could be the tech your business uses, the city you live in, even the school you go to.
So it's about putting yourself in the best possible position, right? Like if you're a musician, maybe Nashville's a better platform than, I don't know, some small town with no music scene.
Exactly. It's understanding how different environments work and picking one that matches your goals, gives you the resources and people you need to really succeed. It's about making sure you're on the best launch pad.
This is making me think, am I on the right platform for what I want to do? Okay, what's next? Hit me with more wisdom.
Number 4 might sound kind of weird. It's called riding the wave.
Riding the wave. Okay, I'm hooked. What does that mean?
It means you don't always got to be the first one out there, the pioneer. Sometimes it's smarter to, follow the leader, use the momentum they've already built.
So instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, you hop on a train that's already moving.
Exactly. Think about early computers. Companies that quickly followed IBM's lead, not copying, but learning and adapting, they were often the ones that ended up on top.
So it's about seeing trends, understanding what works, and then finding ways to do it even better.
You got it. This applies to so many things like online education. Companies like Coursera, they didn't invent online learning, but they jumped on that growing trend, made it better, and became huge.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these smart cuts, they're all kind of connected. Not just separate tricks, but like a whole new way to think about success.
You're picking up on it. They're about seeing patterns, how the world works, and you using that to your advantage.
All right, keep it coming. What's the next smart cut?
This one's about superconnectors.
Superconnectors. What are those, superheroes?
Kinda, sorta. These are the people who seem to know everyone, right? They're like hubs of connections. Even one strong relationship with a superconnector can be worth more than 1,000 regular contacts.
You know, I've actually seen this happen a few years back. I met this woman at an industry thing. She just knew everyone. Made a couple introductions, and boom, doors were opening I didn't even know existed. It's kind of freaky, honestly.
Perfect example. They open doors you didn't even know were there, connect you with people and opportunities you'd never find on your own.
Okay, so these super connectors, they sound important, but how do you find them? Do they have like a secret handshake or something?
No secret handshake, but they do hang out in certain spots like conferences, online groups, or even just being really active on social media. They're the ones asking smart questions, introducing people, really interested in connecting.
So it's not just being there, it's being picky about who you connect with, looking for those natural connectors.
Exactly. And don't be shy. Super connectors, they love making connections. So genuinely being interested in their work or asking a good question, that can go a long way.
Okay, I'm already thinking, who are the super connectors in my world? I'm definitely going to work on building relationships with them. What's next on this Smartcuts journey?
This one's all about momentum, being ready to jump on opportunities when they show up. Remember that Oreo tweet during the Super Bowl blackout a while back? They were ready, saw the chance, and mailed it.
You say momentum, that Oreo thing is the first thing that pops into my head. Classic example of right place, right time, being prepared. But how do you get that kind of readiness in your own life? It's not like we can predict when the Super Bowl's going to go dark.
True, you can't predict every opportunity, but you can create conditions for momentum. Starts with knowing what you want, having a clear vision. Then it's about developing your skills, your network, having systems in place so you can move fast when inspiration hits or something unique pops up.
So it's like having your launch pad ready to go, so when that rocket fuel of opportunity shows up, you can blast off.
You got it. It's about being proactive, not reactive. Preparing for success so when opportunity knocks, you're ready to answer.
I like that analogy. All right. I'm feeling inspired to build some momentum of my own. What's the next smart cut we got to unpack?
This one is a biggie, 10x thinking. Setting goals that are like crazy big, bigger than you think is possible.
10x thinking. So instead of aiming for a 10% improvement, you're going for like 1,000% increase. Isn't that a bit, well, nuts?
Might sound nuts, but that's the point. Snow says those huge goals, they attract more support, resources, talented people.
So if you aim for the stars, maybe you'll at least land on the moon.
Right, it's pushing past your limits, setting your sights way high. When you set a goal 10 times bigger than what feels achievable, it makes you think differently, innovate, tap into stuff you didn't know you had.
I can see how that'd be true. Small goals, small solutions. Massive goal. You got to get creative. Think outside the box.
Exactly. It's shifting your mindset from little improvements to like explosive growth, challenging yourself to go way beyond what you think is possible.
Okay, 10x thinking. Definitely need some time to tight judge that one. What's next on our smart cuts list?
This one is about subtraction, the idea that less can be more, that the best innovations can come from simplifying, stripping away complexity and cost.
Subtraction. Now, that's an interesting one. I usually think of innovation as, adding stuff, making something new. Can you give me an example of this subtraction in action? I'm having trouble picturing it.
Think about those big shipping containers. Before them, loading and unloading ships was a mess, took forever. But making those containers standardized, that one simple thing, changed global trade, made transportation smoother, cheaper, and boom, international commerce exploded.
Wow, you're right. Simple idea, but huge impact. I never thought of that as innovation, but it totally is.
Perfect example of how subtraction can lead to breakthroughs. Another one, budget airlines. They got rid of the extras, free meals, big seats, all that, and focused on the basics, the cheapest way to fly. And it worked. Now more people can afford to travel than ever before.
Okay, these examples are really making me rethink how I solve problems. It's so easy to get caught up in adding more, more, more. But sometimes the best answer is the simplest one.
That's it. It's a reminder that innovation isn't always about adding. Sometimes it's taking away, finding what really matters, and ditching everything else.
All right, subtraction is officially added to my mental toolbox. What's the next smart cut? We're almost there.
This one's rapid feedback, not just about avoiding mistakes, but making the learning process faster. The quicker you get feedback, the faster you can adjust, adapt, improve.
Makes sense. Like having a real-time GPS for your goals. But how can someone actually do this? Any practical tips?
Sure. Start by actively looking for feedback from lots of sources, mentors, coworkers, even people who disagree with you. Don't be scared to ask for honest opinions, even if they're tough to hear. The more perspectives you get, the better you can navigate.
So it's about creating a feedback loop that helps you course correct as you go.
You got it. And don't just wait for it to come to you. Actively ask for it. Set up regular check-ins. Create ways to get anonymous feedback. Use online tools to track your progress. The key is to make feedback a constant thing.
This is gold. I'm already thinking about how I can use rapid feedback in my own work.
Glad to hear it. It's a game changer for anyone serious about hitting their goals faster and better.
Okay, we've covered 8 smart cuts so far. What's the final one?
This last one might be the most important. It ties a lot of what we've talked about together. It's called framing.
Framing. Okay, I'm not sure I follow you.
Think of it like this. Every problem, every challenge, even opportunities, they're all presented to us within a certain frame, you know? How we see that situation, that's what determines how we approach it, what solutions we even consider, and ultimately how successful we are.
So it's about the lens we're looking through at the world.
Exactly. And Snow's saying a lot of these smart cuts, they're really about reframing things, problems, challenges, opportunities, in a way that lets us find more innovative solutions and make progress faster.
Can you give me an example? I'm still trying to get my head around this.
Think about ladder switching. Instead of seeing your career as climbing one ladder, you reframe it as a series of moves across different ladders. Opens up new possibilities, lets you use your skills in a more, I don't know, dynamic way.
I see. So framing is about questioning our assumptions, trying to see things differently.
That's it. It's about questioning those frames we usually take for granted and looking for other ways to define and approach things.
Man, this is making me think. Just a small shift in how you see things can totally change how you tackle a problem.
That's the power of framing. It's about taking control of the story and creating a framework that helps you achieve your goals.
This is incredible. I feel like I have a whole new set of tools for thinking about success.
I'm glad to hear that. And there's so much more to dig into. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll go deeper into each of these smart cuts, look at more examples, and talk about how you can use them in your own life.
All right, I'm ready. We'll be back soon with part 2 of our deep dive into smart cuts. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to our deep dive into smart cuts. Before we jump ahead, I want to quickly go over those 9 strategies for supercharging your success that we talked about last time.
Yeah, good idea. So much cool stuff, it's hard to keep it all straight. What were they again?
Right, so we had ladder switching, mentorship, platforms, riding the wave, super connectors, momentum, 10x thinking, subtraction, and finally framing.
Okay, got it. Those are the 9 smart cuts. Now I'm ready to, really dig into some of these. Which one are you most excited to unpack?
Let's start with ladder switching. It's that idea that challenges the traditional way of thinking about climbing the career ladder one step at a time. Snow says sometimes the fastest way up is to switch to a totally different ladder, like jump ship.
It's funny, when we were talking about this before, it reminded me of this article I read about this woman. She was like a high-powered lawyer, but totally miserable. Ended up quitting to become a chef. And now she owns this super popular restaurant.
That's a perfect example of ladder switching in action. She realized those lawyer skills, being detail-oriented, thinking strategically, those could work in the food world too. It wasn't starting over. It was using what she already had in a new way.
So it's not just about changing jobs. It's about finding something that really lights you up and lets you use your strengths.
Absolutely. And this works for businesses too, not just people. Remember how Netflix started? They were just mailing DVDs. Then they saw streaming was the future and totally changed their business model.
Right. Switch ladders and boom, now they're one of the biggest entertainment companies out there.
Exactly. That's ladder switching in a nutshell. Being adaptable, seeing the opportunities, and having the guts to make a change, even if it means going against the grain.
Okay, ladder switching filed away in my brain. What other smart cut should we unpack next?
Let's talk about riding the wave. It's about recognizing trends, seeing what's already working, and using that momentum to your advantage. Snert says you don't always have to be the first one to do something. Sometimes it's smarter to follow the leader.
But, I don't know, doesn't that make you look like a copycat if you're just following someone else's lead?
That's a good question, yeah. Riding the wave isn't about copying blindly. It's more like watching carefully, seeing what works, and then adapting and improving. It's learning from the people who came before you.
Can you give us an example of this so I can picture it better?
Think about the early days of cars. Henry Ford, he was a pioneer, right? But he wasn't the only one making cars. Companies like General Motors, Chrysler, they came later, but they learned from Ford's mistakes, made his designs even better, and ended up selling more cars than him. They rode the wave Ford created and went even further.
So it's less about revolution, more about evolution.
Yeah, you could say that. It's about recognizing a winning formula and finding ways to, tweak it, adapt it to new situations or different markets.
That makes sense. So instead of trying to be the first one with a brand new idea, you can use trends and innovations that are already out there to build something even better.
Exactly. And you see this in tech all the time. Facebook, they weren't the first social media site, but they learned from the others, both the good and the bad, and built something that became, Facebook.
Yeah, good point. Okay, riding the wave is making more sense now. It's about being strategic and not feeling like you always got to start from scratch. So what other smart cut are we going to tackle next?
Let's dive into subtraction. It's all about the power of keeping things simple. Sometimes the most game-changing ideas come from, like, taking stuff away, getting rid of complexity and cost.
Subtraction is one of those ideas that really gets me thinking, but honestly, it's still kind of hard to wrap my head around. Like, how can less actually be more?
I get it. It seems backwards, but when you do it right, it's really powerful. It's like we get so focused on adding more features, more options, that we forget what we're really trying to do.
So it's like when you add too many ingredients to a recipe, you just end up with something that's like muddled and confusing.
That's a great analogy. Subtraction is about simplifying, getting back to the basics, what really matters. Remember when we talked about those shipping containers?
Yeah, how that simple idea changed global trade.
Exactly. And another great example, the iPod. Before that, digital music players, they were clunky, hard to use, couldn't hold much music. Apple came along and said, what if we get rid of all the extra junk and just make something simple, easy to use that can hold tons of songs? And, well, you know what happened next.
Wow, I never thought about the iPod like that, but it's true. It was all about elegance and simplicity. They focused on what people really wanted, listening to their music, and got rid of everything else.
Exactly. That's what subtraction is all about. Finding the core of something and cutting out anything that doesn't, support that core purpose.
Man, this is making me rethink how I approach, well, everything, from how I design presentations to how I organize my to-do list. Okay, subtraction, you're officially one of my guiding principles now.
That's great to hear. It's a powerful concept. You can use it almost anywhere.
All right, so we've talked about ladder switching, riding the wave, and subtraction. What other smart cuts should we dive into?
Let's talk about rapid feedback. It's all about speeding up how you learn. The faster you can get feedback, the quicker you can adapt, make changes, and get better.
This one really hits home for me. I'm all about getting better all the time. But honestly, getting good feedback at the right time, that could be a struggle.
Yeah, a lot of people struggle with that. They avoid asking for feedback because they're scared of criticism or they just didn't know how to ask the right way. But remember, feedback is how you grow. It's like a compass pointing you towards success.
Okay, so feedback is important, but how do I make it a regular thing? Got any tips?
For sure. First, make it clear that you want feedback. Let people know you value their opinions, even if they disagree with you.
So it's about setting the expectation that feedback is welcome. It's a good thing.
Exactly. And be specific about what kind of feedback you want. Don't just say, what do you think? Ask things like, what could I have done better here? Or what are your thoughts on this specific part of the project?
That makes sense. Being specific helps people give you feedback that's like more focused, more helpful.
You got it. And don't just wait for those formal feedback sessions like performance reviews. Ask for feedback casually, too. Get a coworker's opinion on your presentation, or ask a friend about a new project you're working on.
So it's about making feedback part of like everyday life.
Exactly. And remember, it goes both ways. Be willing to give feedback, too. The more you practice giving and receiving feedback, the better you'll get at it.
Okay, you've given me a whole new way to think about feedback. It's not something to be scared of. It's how you get better. Thanks for those tips.
Happy to help. I think rapid feedback is one of the most powerful smart cuts because it helps us learn faster and make changes on the fly.
Absolutely. It's all about like embracing the process of trying, failing, and learning from your mistakes.
Exactly. And never forget, feedback is a gift. It gives you valuable insights to improve your work and your life.
All right, that was a great deep dive into rapid feedback. Before we finish this part of our exploration, are there any other smart cuts you want to talk more about?
I think we've covered a good range of them in this segment. The important thing is to remember these strategies. They're not meant to be used alone. They work best when you combine them?
That's a good point. So it's not about picking just one smart cut. It's about putting together a whole approach that uses multiple strategies.
Exactly. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore how to actually use these smart cuts in your own life, how to create your own roadmap for success.
Awesome. I can't wait. We'll be back soon with the final part of our deep dive into smart cuts. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back for the last part of our deep dive into smart cuts. Man, we've covered so much, from ladder switching to rapid feedback. My head's spinning with new ideas.
It's been quite a journey, right? Seeing how these kind of unorthodox strategies can help us, achieve things faster, more effectively.
For sure. But before we wrap up, got to make sure we connect all this back to our listeners, their own lives. Is one thing to get these ideas, but how do you actually use them?
You're right. Good point. These smart cuts, they're not like a magic spell. They're tools, strategies, ways of thinking that can help you get ahead, but it still takes work, dedication, being willing to try things out.
So it's not like you read the book and boom, success just lands in your lap. You got to actually do something with these ideas, see how they fit into your own world, right?
Exactly. It's about taking charge of your own journey, using these smart cuts as a guide to make smart decisions. And you don't have to do all nine at once.
That's good to hear. Less overwhelming that way. So where should someone even start?
Start small. Pick one or two smart cuts that really click with you, try them out in your own life, see what happens. As you get more comfortable, more confident, you can add in others.
Makes sense. Find the ones that match your goals, your personality, all that. Now, before we finish up, there are a couple smart cuts we talked about earlier that I kind of want to circle back to.
Sure, which ones?
Well, those super connectors we talked about, I think a lot of people, they struggle with networking and this idea of finding people who can, like, open doors. That sounds amazing.
It's a powerful concept for sure. Super connectors, those are the people who just seem to know everyone, and they're great at connecting people.
Right. But how do you even find these super connectors? Do they just, like, fall out of the sky?
Not quite. They tend to be in certain places, industry events, conferences, online groups where people in your field are hanging out.
So it's about being smart about where you spend your time, who you're talking to.
You got it. And they're often the ones asking good questions, introducing people, making those connections happen.
Okay, so you've spotted a potential super connector. What then? How do you approach them? Any tips?
Be genuine and try to offer something of value. Be interested in their work. Maybe offer to help them with something or ask a thoughtful question that shows you're paying attention to what they're doing.
So it's not about trying to get something from them. It's about building a real relationship.
Exactly. And remember, super connectors are busy people, so don't waste their time. Keep it short and sweet, focused.
Great advice. I'm going to start paying more attention to those super connectors out there. Now, the other smart kit I wanted to talk more about was 10x thinking. Got to be honest, I'm still having trouble with this idea of setting goals that are like 10 times bigger than what feels possible.
I hear you. It's a big idea, but that's kind of the point, right? 10x thinking is about breaking out of those limits we put on ourselves and thinking about growth in a totally different way.
But isn't it setting yourself up to fail if your goals are so huge that they seem impossible?
Not necessarily. The point of 10x thinking isn't always to hit that exact number, though it could happen. It's more about what happens in your mind when you aim for something so big.
So it's about seeing a bigger picture, challenging yourself to think bigger.
Exactly. When your goal is 10 times bigger, you got to come up with new solutions. You find resources you didn't even know you had. You push yourself way past your comfort zone.
That makes a lot more sense now. It's not really about the number. It's about changing how you think when you let go of those limiting beliefs. Okay, 10x thinking, challenge accepted.
That's what I like to hear. Remember, all these smart cuts, they're about helping you reach your full potential, whatever that is.
I'm feeling super inspired. This whole deep dive has given me a new way to look at success and how to get there. Any last words of wisdom for our listeners?
Just remember, the road to success, it's not a straight line. It's going to have twists and turns, ups and downs. But with these smart cuts, you can navigate those bumps a little easier and reach your goals faster than you thought possible.
Well said. This has been an awesome deep dive into smart cuts. Thanks so much for sharing all this with us.
My pleasure. And remember, knowledge is only powerful if you use it, right? So take these smart cuts, try them out, and find your own path to success.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into Shane Snow's smart cuts. Hope you enjoyed this exploration of strategic thinking and how to be more innovative in achieving your goals. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into something fascinating, so stay tuned.